this mark above your heads here, this was the quartz they finally were looking for, and they made it here. They got to it after all those years. Now Hercules has been well over 2 years to make it up to here. They've tunnelled through the way that some of you came through this direction, and they finally struck it, and they're only getting a certain amount of gold from the quartz itself. So it was pretty minuscule, really. At this point, excuse me, they had a little bit of, probably about 1 gram per tonne. Now I'll just show you what the equivalent of 1 gram is. This is about 1 gram of gold. Now every time they wanted to get 1 gram of gold, it cost them about 1 tonne of quartz to get this out. And 1 tonne of quartz is the size of your washing machine just to produce this much gold. So Hercules being the very first company to tunnel through here, that's what they got, and they weren't getting a really good return. So Hercules goes broke pretty quick. We think that they're probably looking possibly in the wrong area. We think they might have continued their pathway through here in the hope they might find a second reef, but it just didn't eventuate. So if you go to like Bendigo, Ballarat, they've got multiple quartz seams up there, and this was just the one quartz seam in here. It was one of the richest quartz seams the state had, if not the whole country.
So what was the indicator from above ground that they were going to find something in this spot?
Well, when the gold makes its way to the creek from the source of this source, it's washing down through the grey material, and the grey stuff is called puggy clay.
Yeah, but it's washing, so that's got to travel. So how do they know it came from here?
Well, this is all part of the song and dance of trying to run a mine. There's no guarantee that it will do any good. So
Needle in a haystack.
It's literally like a needle in a haystack. It's a very fickle business to be involved in. I'll tell you about a company that worked for more than a couple of years that failed miserably. So hold that thought. Now have a look at this too. You can have a look at that, pass it around. Actually, somebody pinched one of these last weekend, which is pretty horrible that people do this kind of stuff. Luckily, it was an old one. It's like a remake. But what they were doing with this kind of device here, this was a candle holder. It had a name called a spider, and your candle would sit like that, slot right into it. Now, the power went off here in November last, or the year before. Was it? Maybe over a year now. No, it was last year, November. I had to think about that. Even all the lights went out here, even the emergency exit sign, the green sign went out, and we could actually light a candle up and just give you an idea of how dark it got in here. So they had very poor eyesight because of this problem. I think there's a whole heap of people still trapped in Pike River that are never going to recover those people out there. Just having that conversation with some of you before actually too. So it was all pretty limited. They couldn't see what they're doing. Now we do graduate from the tools we were using before, and now everybody's getting quite sick because what's actually happening is they're inhaling all of this dust as like a cheese grater, just cutting their lungs up very sharp, razor like glass fragments like. So you would have began here about 15. How old are you?
13.
13. So 2 things to unpack. You would be excluded because you're female, but the boys would start here at the age of 15. So lucky ladies. That's probably a blessing. If you made to say 21, 22, you're considered to be an old man, and you're getting on in your years, you make it to maybe lucky to make a good, clean, healthy lungs after 32, 33. You have done exceptionally well because most people are passing on with these problems. What we discovered recently was that somebody came to us about a year ago, maybe a bit longer too, and they reckon that if you're breathing the dust in, it's going to enhance your possibility of getting tuberculosis. And the person that told us that was a very credible source, so we do believe that. If you see on the news, they've got rid of like fake Caesar-stone bench tops. It's all been outlawed now because they're the same thing, silica, and that was probably worse than the dust coming from in here. So this is pretty tough stuff in here. Did you bring some?
Ow.